Testing? Excellent. So thanks to the DSA for this opportunity to speak today. My name is Michael Feldman. I'm based at Amazon's global headquarters in Seattle. And among other areas, I lead on connectivity policy and spectrum in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific for all of Amazon's devices and services. And this includes wireless and spectrum policy, supporting Amazon's businesses, including our devices businesses that rely on access to spectrum. Let's see if, does this work? Hey, it does. So at Amazon, almost everything we do for customers is built on connectivity, including wireless technologies enabled by spectrum. And we have a variety of spectrum use cases that require access to unlicensed, shared, and licensed spectrum. So just to name a few of the devices that rely on spectrum to serve customers, we have Amazon LEO, formerly known as Project Kuiper. That's our low Earth orbit satellite broadband project to bring affordable, reliable, high-quality internet to unserved and underserved parts of the world. And then we're also building devices and services such as our Echo and Alexa devices, Kindle, Ring, Fire TV, that all rely on and improve critical in-home connectivity, including Wi-Fi. And in fact, the latest generation of devices, and you can see here our CEO, Andy Jassy, announcing them recently, includes our third generation of Fire TV Cube, Fire Stick 4K Max. All of those are already leveraging Wi-Fi 6E capabilities in the 6 gigahertz band. Amazon's Eero mesh routers include 5 products with access points across Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7, which are powering 6 gigahertz already in millions of homes around the US and around the world. So I'm not a spectrum engineer, but as my colleagues at Eero recently shared with me, as a mesh solution, Eero actually leverages the 6 gigahertz not only for direct client connections, but also to dramatically increase mesh performance and to enhance performance for 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz capable clients. We also leverage spectrum in our operations, and you can see here just one example of our delivery drones, which are quite cool. These will deliver packages to your backyard, drop them right there after you order products within a couple hours. And these drones actually are already being expanded beyond the US, where we've tested them in California and Texas. We're already planning on doing these drone testings in Italy and the UK. And these drones also rely on unlicensed spectrum in the 60 to 64 gigahertz band. And then also worth pointing out, our fulfillment centers, which employ hundreds of thousands of people around the world, they also utilize low latency unlicensed connectivity to support our logistics operations. And Amazon FCs, or fulfillment centers, they use every last bit of unlicensed or lightly licensed spectrum. And that's not only just Wi-Fi, but that's also UWB, CBRS, and sub-gig technologies. And so the packages that arrive on your doorstep, they were ordered from Amazon, they were packed and picked by people assisted by Amazon Robotics using unlicensed spectrum. And larger fulfillment centers, you can see here one of our latest ones using AI technology in Houston, Texas. They have thousands of wireless access points per site. For dense enterprise networks like these fulfillment centers, we need sufficient spectrum to support 760 megahertz and 14 80 megahertz channels. And in such dense deployments, aggressive channel reuse, it necessitates the use of smaller channels by more widely spaced access points. And so without access to the 6 gigahertz band, these enterprise networks, they can suffer from increased interference and reduced utility, and that limits the growth of Amazon's logistics operations. And so given the scope and the scale of Amazon's operations, combined with the innovation that's possible in the 6 gigahertz band. That's why we advocate for global harmonization of the full 6 gigahertz spectrum. I'll skip ahead a little bit. So the latest generation of Wi-Fi leverages 320 megahertz channels to support billions of devices and applications. And the full 6 gigahertz band provides enough bandwidth for 320 megahertz channels, and that's critical for high throughput applications. So designating the full upper band to Wi-Fi would make these 320 megahertz channels available to the public sector, enterprise users, remote community users, including universities, schools, hospitals, everything you've heard already today. I'll just skip along, actually. So here you can see our latest generation Eero devices. So new coexistence frameworks, they aren't about taking spectrum from one user and giving it to another, but they expand access in ways that work across device users and use cases. And advancements in technology have already shown us how multiple commercial and national security users can operate in the same band efficiently. The 6 gigahertz band proves this because Wi-Fi coexists successfully with incumbents, and it maximizes the availability of existing spectrum. In the US, as you know, the entire band was open to Wi-Fi with no proven interference across more than 100,000 fixed links. And Amazon's Eero routers, as you see here, they already use software to identify available channels, and this can be updated remotely to meet local rules, which enables hybrid sharing of the upper 6 gigahertz band without expensive hardware changes. So all this to say, license exempt spectrum, it's critical for innovation. It underpins many of the technologies that consumers and businesses, including Amazon, use and rely on every day, and it carries overwhelming and growing majority of internet traffic. As mentioned, Amazon customers increasingly rely on unlicensed technologies, particularly indoors, and they do this to shop on Amazon.com, connect their Kindles, Echo devices, and Fire TVs to allow for smart home applications. And what may have been the best approach 5 to 10 years ago, it's not likely the best approach today. And Amazon fully recognizes it's going to take a variety of technologies to efficiently and effectively connect people everywhere. And so broadly enabling these technologies and different types of providers to access spectrum will best serve connectivity goals. And as we discuss possible political outcomes for the upper 6 gigahertz band globally, we shouldn't forget that the solution needs to be end-user focused and to allow customers to fully enjoy the benefits of additional unlicensed spectrum. So you may have seen outside, we have recently rebranded Project Kuiper as Amazon Leo. And it's going to bring fast, affordable internet to unserved and underserved communities around the world. We already have about 150 low Earth orbit satellites up in the sky, with the goal of reaching more than 3,000 satellites in orbit. But global spectrum sharing rules between satellite systems, they're holding back this technology. And going back to what I said about how Amazon's supporting a technology neutral approach to connectivity, that doesn't apply just to unlicensed spectrum, but also applies to satellite broadband services. These global spectrum sharing rules that exist between satellite systems, they're holding back this technology. These equivalent power flux density, or EPFD limits, they were created for 20th century technology when the satellite industry was completely different and before high-speed satellite internet even existed. EPFD, as I mentioned, the power limits are based on combined emissions from all NGSO, or non-geostationary orbit satellites, toward any GSO Earth station. And so to comply, NGSO systems, they must apply artificial mitigations that restrict coverage and service area. And these measures, they render significant system capacity unusable, and that limits our ability to deliver needed connectivity. And so ongoing studies in the ITUR are examining this issue, but these studies are already showing that limits can be updated based on current spectrum sharing technology. Also worth mentioning that modernizing EPFD limits, they have already shown significant consumer benefits. Studies show up to 100 billion US dollars, which boost global broadband capacity by up to 180% while still fully protecting GSO networks. And so all this to say, we strongly urge administrations to support studies at the ITUR and modernize limits accordingly. That's all I've got, and thank you for your attention.